house on DuPont Road. Of course, it wasn't DuPont Road then, but we would go through there and go around Hewitt's, and there's a road still there where you could cut through there, and it was called, let me see, I'll find it in a minute, because I just saw the name, Orange Grove, Dunk's Hamlet, Pickett Home, yeah, that, Bill Osteen Pond, wherever that is.
It's not on the map anymore. And that's Princess Place is supposed to be over here.
Yeah, okay.
I'm guessing this is Brammer Road, just the way that it curves.
Oh, Kings Road. All right, this says Kings Road here, Burnt Bridge. So that's out here when you get on Old Kings, and you make a right turn. That right there used to be a wooden bridge right there. Now you don't even realize it's a bridge. But this is what someone told me not long ago. Did you ever talk to the Quigleys?
No, I know the name.
Barney Quigley.
He was the caretaker over here at the lodge house, I believe, right?
His house is, if you look where the
Pool.
where
Barn.
the pool and the barn is.
Yeah.
There's a house off to the back. That's supposed to be the Quigley house.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you go to the Princess Place and you circle around, the princess so-called built the Quigley a house to live in. And she was the housekeeper. When some word would get to her that they were coming, and so she would clean up the house for them. But I think that's all she did for them. But when she would hear that they were coming, she'd go over there and clean up and dust and all that. My mother knew her real well, really liked her. And but this is what Barney Quigley said. He's passed away now. But he used to ride the school bus with us. Those two boys, Barney and David. And they kept him in school, and here's his long legs under the seat, and here I was. I was like this, these great big long legs, and my uncle drove the school bus at that time, and he had to catch those boys and put them on the bus, and sometimes he couldn't catch them. But anyway, Barney told me I got to visit with him some, and after years, I didn't know him, and so anyway, he was laughing and telling me at Joe Kersey's Memorial Day, and somebody was sitting there talking, teasing me, "Are you still eating Gophers?" No. But anyway, I got to visit with him some. I didn't know him, but I had to learn who he was, and he was quite friendly, very nice. But he says, you know, this burnt bridge, we never understood who burned it down. Barney Quigley told me some of the DuPonts burned it down. And that was news to me. I've always heard burnt bridge. It was a wooden bridge. But when you are at Burnt Bridge, right there as you turn up on Old Kings, turn right, and you see the concrete there now, if you would, when it's time for azaleas, wild azaleas to bloom, there's some right there.
Oh, really?
You knew that?
I did not.
Oh. My sister and I, we used to walk back in there, and we would see those wild azaleas. When you go back out Brammer Road, and you see there's a gate that goes that way, and you go on around, and there's a gate that goes to the west. And we would go that one, and it's a fire trail now, and it was then when my sister and I walked it. But the wild azaleas, when they're the first things that bloom in in the spring, and there's wild azaleas in there. I'm telling you where this place is also. You can go look.
You're gonna see my truck sitting on the side of the road all the time.
Well, you know, oh really? That was the truck I saw.
It says preserve the past on the back.
Yeah.
That,
What's on the back?
preserve the past.
Oh, okay.
So if you see that, I'm in the woods somewhere.
Well, I say, well, they don't want a vehicle on their property. I mean, but anyway, that is public property is paid for by federal money. And then they don't want the ponds drained. And my brother would be at this pond here, and he was draining it one day because it was overflowing. And they told him, he's passed away now, but they told him, you shouldn't be draining it. Well, where's the water going? Because in the road. But anyway, it's very interesting, and now they've come in and they did a lot of logging.
Yeah, they've made a mess up there.
They made a big mess. And my easement is Brammer Road. And I'm grandfathered in on this road. And like Hewitt said, you know, he couldn't give me a permit or okay anything, easement. And so I am grandfathered in, but I don't know what you do if you were going to build a house. So anyway, I got my easement this way, and the contractor could come in all he wanted to. And Roger was the carpenter, and he'd get up there and walk around, and he asked me, did anybody die in this old house? I said, no. He says, I feel spirits. And he was part Indian also. Very good carpenter. But he said, when I'm out here by myself, I feel spirits. I'm laughing. But sometimes your imagination can get away with you. But anyway, this property is set like this. And Douglas he and his wife and Caroline would come over. I'd let them know if I was going to be out here. And you know, they would ride some sort of four-wheeler or something and come up here and sit on Sunday mornings and talk to me. I said, well, do you know, he was telling me about his dad catching these little alligators and taking them to the alligator farm. I said, okay, let me tell you one. I said, my dad and your dad would go alligator hunting back here. They'd have an old vehicle. I mean, it was made for the woods. So they would go back there. And I remember when I was a little girl, here they came, my dad and Uncle Jack. And they parked right there. They had the longest alligator you have ever seen. I mean, it went over the front fender and all the way back, over the back fender. And they would have to pull those things out of the ponds. Where you see a pond with water, there's an alligator. And so they came up, and I was about so high, and I like to look and see what they're, but they had them tied where they couldn't. But my uncle would take them to St. Augustine. My dad would have no part of it. He would have him catch them, but that would be it. But anyway, there were every time, and my mother would say, if you see an alligator in the water, don't get in the water. So years ago, we would go down to Long's Creek. That's how the local people would go fishing, would be down there at Long's Creek. And one time we counted 17 alligators. And my mother said, you can't go swimming. And I said, why? But we did not go swimming. But there, we didn't go after that. But there is a place that, and the road went across there by Hewitt's, across the swamp, and then it curves, And then there's a sand landing. There's a picture somewhere, I don't know where it is. It showed the whole family get together. It showed all the DuPonts there, and it showed Aunt Kate. Aunt Kate was the daughter of Knight, Samuel Knight. And so she never married or anything. But when Sarah married Virgil, so this is a roundabout way. But anyway, it shows a picture of the whole family over there at Sand Landing years ago, and they were standing around white sand you wouldn't believe, the most beautiful sand you've ever seen. See, we can't go that way anymore. But my dad used to take us floundering there at night, and he would drive us around and then park, and then we would get out, and I'd ask him, he seemed to know which way he was going. I said, well, how can you tell you're going north, and how can you tell you're going south? Because I have to know those things. And he knew the stars. And so, and he would tell how you could tell if you're going north. He says, if the moon is over your right shoulder, you're going north. But if it's over the left, you're going south. And you couldn't see your hand before your face. But he had a lantern, and then he had a spear, and he'd go floundering, and we'd walk along, wade in the water. We thought that was the most wonderful thing. Nobody around. But way back, when he was small, there was a school over there, and it went that way. And then there was a school going this way. And when you go Davis Grade, as you are getting off of the golf course or whatever, the old school used to be right there. And I mean, it stayed, grass did not grow on it. It was there that long. They closed up all those county schools in 1917. And they put they had the school built in Vanilla at that time. And so that's where they sent a bus around, and anybody that was partway school, through the school here, the bus would come out and pick them up and take them to Vanilla. Of course, I didn't fit in that group. Thank goodness. But anyway, but that area stayed clear, and the road that went wound down and went through there and went to my granddad's house, Eatman's house. You could go through there, you could go that way to go to Long's Creek. But anyway,
so the school, this is Davis Grade. So the school would have been somewhere here? This is
the old school? No, it would be right there at Davis Grade, and Davis Grade went through the swamp, and it would be right there on the right as you were walking in or whatever. But I remember there was no grass there for a long time. But anyway,
this map shows two schools.
Tom Creek.
School here.
Yeah, okay.
And then there's a school somewhere further south.
Kings Road. That looks like my brother's writing. Log cabin run by Annie Osteen DuPont. Okay. Annie Osteen DuPont. Wait just a minute. When the brother and sister married brother and sister, what turned up was my grandmother Annie. She was an Osteen. I wonder if had that.
Is that Calvin's wife?
Huh?
Is that Calvin's wife, Annie?
Oh, no, this is Annie Osteen.
Okay.
So there was I have all these pictures I took. Yeah, that's it. Okay. You see, this is Osteen.
Okay.
And this, what did I have it marked right there?
Rachel Carter.
Uh,
You got Rachel Carter, Jackson Osteen, Henry Carter, and Nancy Osteen.
yeah. Okay, so this ended up at Carter. What do I have? Tillman, Henry Tillman Carter, married Nancy Osteen. All right, this is Rachel Carter. Here. Mary Jackson Osteen. So it would be her daughter or granddaughter? Annie Osteen.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but Annie, she was the one that was at the house when the old house burned. That was like 1935 or something. I remember that. They said my dad cried. And see, we were living here already. My parents built this house, and the day that big house burned, we were standing out there in the field. And my cousin William King was there, and my half-sister Dorothy DuPont was there, and they lived with the grandmother over there. So anyway, we were standing out there, and we heard somebody yell. So it was my grandmother, Annie. And my mother said, "You all better get over there and see about them." And of course, she had 3 or 4 of us at that time. But anyway, you can tell Nancy, Jackson, Osteen, and Nancy. Okay, right here. And right here. These are brother and sister. And here is Henry Tillman Carter. And this one is Rachel Carter. Brother and sister. In the church, we all went to the same church out here on when you go over Conservatory Creek and you make a left turn and go back in there, the church was back there. And the cemetery was started in 1885, I think.
Yes. Palliser Creek Cemetery,
Conservatory Creek, yeah.
1874.
1870. Okay. That was the reason they buried somebody in the Eatmans Cemetery, because of the cemetery not being established that much. And my Uncle Willie, he would keep all these people that died in his head, so that when somebody took his place, they didn't know who was buried where. But I'll tell you who did a great job of looking it up, and that was Cisco Dean.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went on the computer and I printed out a lot of people who were buried there. And this John Gordon lived with Radis down there. And so anyway, Bradis was to take care of him. And so they did. But anyway, John Gordon was supposed to have been buried with the Bradis out at Conservatory Creek Cemetery. Well, one of the people said, "Well, they didn't see it." I said, "I remember seeing the little tombstone, little thing about that big. It had been there, and then just before cemetery working, it was gone." So, but I told this person, I said, he was buried with the Braddocks. And he said, this person said, well, you can, there's a rod, you can go look. I said, no, I don't hunt for stuff like that. So anyway, I said, well, you better keep quiet. But Cisco Dean was a very professional way of hunting for stuff.
Mhm.
And it showed that Gordon was buried that day. And so that was one of the pictures. Let me think a minute. I don't think I have that. But anyway, you see these eyes? See the eyes? Brother and sister. And then you see these eyes? That's Carter and Carter. See? And then he's an Osteen. So she's the one. I had to look again. It's very confusing. But anyway, okay. In one of the pictures, it shows a person, and it was Nancy Osteen. Way back. All right. Okay. Now, let me see. We'll get back to the DuPonts. Okay. Orange Grove. In the swamp. Okay. You can walk down here, make a right turn, and get on County Road. And then you could keep going and you'd come into the swamp. There used to be an orange grove in there for years. And Dunk's Hammock, where is that? Pickett's home. Bill Osteen Pond.
And some of the things like Old Branch, I have no idea where that would be. Double Bridge, I'm guessing it's Double Bridges.
Oh, okay. Double Bridges is across the US 1, isn't it?
Yes,
Jug Pond.
Where we got started was, there was an old sawmill up here. The Seminole War Fort is here. And Double Kings Road came down this way. And we worked in this area.
Yeah, Jug Pond, Dunk's Hammock.
So Annie Osteen's logging camp is where, Scott lost his name. That's the other side of Kings Road.
Well, you can still walk through the woods and see an old post. And that post right there in the corner, that's an old post. And log camp run by Annie Osteen DuPont. So that was my grandmother. And they said, Hewitt said, that they used to live where the Ag Museum is now. You know, it's all hilly and sandy and all that. They said that she, her family lived there and she would cook. She learned to cook at an early age. And she'd set up, and I have to tell you about this. So my grandmother was over there, and the turpentine people would come by here, and she would know when they would be coming, and she'd bake biscuits, fix something nice to eat, and they'd stop there and get it, and by the time they got here, they were singing happy as they could be. But anyway, I was Aunt Kate. Herman Masters. I'm thinking he might be the one that was back here. Virgil DuPont, Charlie DuPont, or Ed DuPont. That looks like my brother's right now. I don't know. But anyway, now there is a picket place. You could walk back here and then cut over, and you could cut over like you're going to the Prince's place. You'd be on that side. that side of the branch. And different ones would point out, said, that's the old picket place right there. So after that, I think they were caretakers or lived at the Prince's place. You know, things kind of.
So this road here is the county road you're talking about? I believe we're right in here. This is Brammer.
Bremer. Okay.
So this is the road that, where the assisted living house and all that was?
Well, Bremer Road is this one here.
Right.
And, yeah, right straight back this road is where the assisted living.
Okay.
But he had said one time, we're so glad we're not incorporated with compost. And you know, this has its advantages. You don't have a swell. When it rains hard, the water comes in, goes right across the field and into the swamp. You don't have to touch it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Charlie DuPont was over there. You might say in front of Hewitt's.
Okay.
And there was a field there. It was full of persimmons, any shape or size. Great big tomato-looking persimmons. And Virgil DuPont, Jim DuPont. Okay, Jim DuPont probably was my granddad. Annie. Help me, Mary. Aunt Kate, I see Aunt Kate. That was Kate Samuel, the Indian hunter. I'm supposed to brought
Samuel Knight?
Yeah. But he's buried in the Eatmans cemetery. Long was the first one because he was shot by an Indian. But he, Samuel Knight, off of State Road 100, on the way to Dead Lake, my sister pointed out ruins of an old house, and she said, this is where Samuel DuPont, or Samuel Knight lived. So when he married a DuPont, Sarah, they built him a house back here. Samuel DuPont. But anyway, so he would be closer to her parents, Virgil. Yeah, here is Herman Masters. Parker Place. I see Parker Place here.
Okay.
That's back there.
Okay. That's where they're clearing all the trees out, right?
Let me see. Virgil DuPont. Well, he would be over here, and Jim DuPont. You know, the house passed down to the next ones. Jim DuPont. Aunt Kate. Aunt Kate was Samuel Knight's daughter. Little tiny woman. And I remember seeing her. And she would, I had to say this. My brother would have a cough, and they felt like he caught it from her. You know, you never know. I remember that. And so she took him to the doctor. No, it was nothing, but she was a little tiny woman. And Jim DuPont, right over here, of course, at the curve, it winds around, and it would do a left turn, and that's where Jim DuPont built Aunt Kate and her brother Sam Knight, the brothers. And they, Sam Knight would do some errands for the DuPonts, and he would get in the boat. He'd take produce across the intercoastal to Summer Haven. And too, I have to tell you about my dad. My grandmother, Annie, somehow she would send my dad